Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to One Step Beyond Broadcast System. Today, I want to talk about setting up your weekly schedule. So, one of the things you need to do as an athlete, and especially as a triathlete, is figure out a plan that works for you. And there are some sensible and some unsensible ways to do that. So, we're going to talk about the sensible ways here. For example, if you have 5 to 6 hours of training available to you per week, then you've got on average 45 minutes to an hour per day. And let's assume that you would like a full day of rest on Saturday or Sunday. So what I'm going to talk about is with a rest day on Sunday, but you can move it around as need be. What we want to do is work on having 2 sessions per sport per week on average. That's swimming, biking, and running. If you are able to do occasionally more than that, that's great. But if you have limited time, then we're really trying to get 2 of these sessions. One of the exceptions would be if you are a former swimmer, you could afford to drop down to 1 swim only. You're not going to win a race with the swim, but if you're a newer triathlete, newer swimmer, you need to be swimming at least twice per week. So the schedule would look something like this. Monday you swim, Tuesday you run, Wednesday you bike, Thursday you swim, Friday you run, Saturday you bike. A couple of things you'll notice, they're spaced out very evenly. And in this schedule, I put the running the day before the bike. The reason being, as a newer athlete or a low volume athlete, running is the highest demand because of the bouncing on the ground. And running the day before the bike will generally make your run quality a little better. If you were to run the day after your bike, you're going to have tired quads, tired calves, tired hamstrings, all that, and your run quality would be less. So if you're only training 5, 4, 6 hours a week, generally speaking, you're going to want to run the day before the bike or a couple days before the bike, depending on how your schedule and your life works. Now you may be asking, when do I do my strength training? When do I do my yoga training? Good question. Well, if Tuesday, for example, is a 30 or 40 minute run, potentially you have time to do 10, 15, 20 minutes of strength or yoga. And you may say, well, that's nothing like a 45-minute strength workout. Why should I bother? The answer is because 10 or 15 minutes is greater than 0. Every little bit you do counts. It all adds up. So it's okay if you can only do a couple of 20-minute strength sessions or 15-minute strength and a 10-minute yoga. Both of those are super important. I'm going to talk about those later sometime. But flexibility and strength development are very key to your overall health as well as triathlon training, durability, and longevity. Now, let's say you have more time available to you. You're getting into the 6, 8, 10-hour range. You can keep the same kind of structure and lengthen the session. So, instead of running 30 or 40 minutes, you're going to be running 45 minutes to an hour. Instead of biking 45 minutes, you're riding an hour 15, an hour and a half. And your long sessions of the week can certainly start to go up in duration, right? Instead of a 45-minute or an hour long run, we're up to a hour 10, hour 15 sort of long run. And the same goes for the bike. The add-ons you would look at would be adding a third run, whether that's a decent transition run off the bike or adding a third bike itself. The reason being, the stronger you are in biking, the more it makes you able to run to your capacity on the run leg of a triathlon. We could be a great runner, but if we don't bike enough and we're not very strong, when we come off that bike, whether it's a sprint or an Olympic distance race, we're going to have a lot of fatigue. The stronger of a cyclist you are, the less fatigue you're going to feel going into that run. So the first sessions I would be adding when you have more time available is an extra run and then the extra bike, right? So the third run being a transition run, the third bike being a full workout of a bike. Then you would also have more time for strength training and yoga. So you could do more dedicated sessions. Potentially now you're looking at running in the morning on Tuesday and doing some strength Tuesday afternoon and variations of that. If swimming was your weak point, you would certainly want to add a third swim. And Good point. When you go to the pool, generally most of those pools are attached to a gym. Some of them are not dedicated, aquatic facilities are not. But if you have a gym available at your pool, you can combine a strength and a swim. If you're going to ask me which one you should do first, it really depends on what your weaknesses are. If swimming is your weakness, I would swim first and go lighter on the weights. If swimming is not your weakness, then you could lift first and then jump in the pool and loosen up while you swim. Now we get into higher volume athletes. If you've got over 10 hours up to like 15 hours of training available to you per week, now you're looking at doing doubles on a lot of days. Your sessions are getting longer. And a general strategy, not a total strategy, but a general strategy is to figure out how you can do 3 sessions per sport per week, plus dedicated strength, plus at least one decent yoga or stretching regimented, time frame. A lot of good days for your stretch are going to be your day off or an easy day or after your long run. Now you have to be careful if you're doing a dedicated stretch after your long run that you don't overstretch and hurt yourself. So be aware of that. But generally speaking, now you're looking at 3 sessions per sport per week, longer, spread out throughout the week. For example, swim Monday, Wednesday, Friday, run Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, bike Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, Sunday morning, right? So we're trying to really jam stuff in, but if you can figure out your plan, it's not that hard to do. Once you get into the 15, 20, 25 hours of a week of training per week, that means you have a lot of flexibility in your life schedule, which is great. So you're potentially looking at 3, 4, 5 sessions per sport per week. Where you need to be careful is ramping up too quickly into this sort of volume of training. So you need to ease into it. You don't want to jump from a 10-hour week to a 20-hour week, for example. You could do a fair bit of swimming without hurting yourself, but you need to be aware of how your shoulders are feeling. You can also ride quite a bit without too much chance of injury. There's always a chance of overuse injuries, but if you're somewhat smart about it, you can get your bike volume up fairly quickly. The running you need to be careful with, no doubt about it, especially on top of all this other training. So when you have that much time, it's really time to sit down and figure out a plan that works for you and is not going to lead you to overtraining and over-injury. I don't know if there's an over-injury, but I don't want that. So this one is about consistency. This is us. Like and subscribe if you get a chance. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.